Okay. Well, we've got a critical mass for sure. So I think it's right around time that we kick things off. I just wanted to welcome everybody to today's webinar, improving OEE through real-time data visualization. We're really excited for this webinar. Just a reminder as to kind of what we're up to today. The Karl Storz Endovision team sought to answer a fundamental question by gaining real-time insights from their machine data. How much of the time are they using their machines, and how can they use them better? The team's goal focused on improving operational efficiency along with machine performance. And after vetting certain solutions, the team, including Bruce here, chose to move forward using MachineMetrics, and they've been able to achieve some pretty incredible things during their time. During our live interview today, Bruce Watkins, who is a president and general manager of Karl Storz Endovision, is going to share his unique insights on leveraging machine data to visualize and analyze their conditions and health and production data across their manufacturing equipment and some of the results that they've been able to glean. So we are, like I said, really excited to have everybody here today. For those of you who know me, and my name is Graham Immerman. I'm the vice president of marketing at MachineMetrics, and I'll be your host and moderator. It's been a while since I've hosted, so it's nice to be back on the MachineMetrics stage, and great to be with you all from all over the world. Like I said, I couldn't be any more excited to have our guest, Bruce. Feel free to wave at the fans here. They're here for you, certainly not for me. Bruce is the president and general manager of Karl Storz Endovision. He is also a marathon runner. We will not get into the details of that unless he wants to. But we are truly excited to have him here today with us to share his thoughts and insights, a real innovator and manufacturing visionary. Just before we get started, a couple housekeeping items here. For those of you who are already concerned, fear not. This webinar is being recorded, and we will send you a link in the event that you've got to sign off. But I do suggest staying live because it's going to be a really special event. And questions, are indeed welcome. There are really two ways to ask questions. The first is how some of you are already, through the Zoom navigation. While the other way is, in the chat. I noticed that some of you are having echo issues, but I'm certainly not having that experience on my side. If everybody's having that issue, please let us know in the chat. It could be your own monitor. But that's if anybody else is having that issue, don't hesitate to let us know. Like I said, questions are available through the Q&A section. Appreciate that, everybody out there. No echo there, no echo here. I'll try not to echo myself too much today. But you know how things are today. It's just if you can, just try to log in using a different sound, or play around with your sound functions within the Zoom navigation. The Q&A section of the Zoom navigation will allow you to ask questions. We may not be able to answer them in real time, but we'll save them for the Q&A section. And just a couple other housekeeping items while we're here. For those of you interested in learning more and staying with us on our tour, we do have a upcoming webinar on May 17th at 2 p.m. With our friends at Modern Machine Shop, called Automate Your Production Monitoring with Machine Data. For those of you interested in the topic, manufacturers rely on production monitoring solutions to gain comprehensive real-time view of what's happening. But without the right technology, this is easier said than done. And to gain visibility into job status, many solutions require operators to painstakingly import data from MES or ERP first. But at MachineMetrics, we found that this approach may in fact be backwards and unnecessarily time intensive. In reality, all the information you need to fully understand production is within your machine data. And production happens on the machines. So the machines should inform the people and systems, not the other way around. And in this live webinar, we're going to show how MachineMetrics has automated production monitoring to capture accurate real-time machine data and automate workflows into other types of systems within your business to help manufacturers achieve greater visibility with reducing the manual burden of data entry. So really excited to have you guys join us for that. And lastly, just one quick announcement from the MachineMetrics team. At MachineMetrics, security is at the forefront of every decision that we make, and our product is built on the premise that data is of paramount importance and value. And we view the protection of that data as core to our ability to serve manufacturers. And that's why we're very excited to announce our ISO certification. Achieving ISO 27001 certification is a huge milestone for an organization that reflects our team's hard work to establish secure protocols in every facet of our product and our business. Just wanted to give congratulations to everybody here at MachineMetrics who worked so hard on this, and to the customers all around the world that rely on MachineMetrics, not just for real-time visibility and actionable insights into their data, but rely on us to keep them and their businesses safe. So just a quick agenda for today. We're going to do some brief introductions. We're going to talk just a quick video on MachineMetrics. We're going to then introduce Karl Storz, Endovision, and we're going to get to the main event, which is going to be an interview with Bruce here, and then we're going to open things up for a Q&A. So just to kick things off, I'm going to start a new screen share here, optimized for video, which will allow me to play you this brief video on MachineMetrics.
Manufacturing produces more data than any other major industry in the world, yet has been slow to adopt the digital mindset transforming industries like agriculture, banking, and healthcare. Manual data collection is time-consuming and inaccurate. Operating on gut instinct alone leads to inefficiencies and poor decision-making that affect every component of a company's operation, from significant downtime to production losses. We're in the age of Industry 4.0, and manufacturers need every edge they can get to stay competitive. Real-time actionable data is that edge. Your machines generate hundreds of data points every millisecond, all of which tell a story of what happened in the past, what's happening now, and what will happen next. It's time you harness that data and jump-started your factory's digital transformation. MachineMetrics provides an intuitive, flexible monitoring platform that easily collects data from any piece of manufacturing equipment and transforms it into powerful, actionable insights. Why does MachineMetrics succeed where so many others have failed? The key is in our ease of use and time to value. The MachineMetrics IoT platform is easy to install and implement. You'll start visualizing data in a matter of hours. Plug-and-play edge connectivity harnesses and standardizes machine data across your entire fleet. Our intuitive, out-of-the-box apps are easy to use and drive rapid improvements in efficiency. Training is minimal. Real-time shop floor dashboards, machine production and condition monitoring, historical reporting, and automated alerts instantly enable visibility and analytics to help your team understand the big picture. Build your own apps or seamlessly connect with your current shop floor systems to easily integrate machine data across your digital factory. MachineMetrics will help your team deliver the right information to the right person at the right time. Identify potential bottlenecks before they occur. Update cycle time standards in real time to improve pricing and scheduling. Detect anomalies and predict maintenance events before they cause downtime. Empower your workforce with step-by-step instructions to optimize processes. Enable lights-out manufacturing with remote monitoring and alarm notifications. With MachineMetrics, any manufacturer can start leveraging their machine data immediately to drive improvements and provide the foundation for scaling data across their operations. It's time to start transforming your factory, all with the click of a button. Harness the power of machine data so it can become your competitive advantage.
Riveting. Let's not watch that again. Always love a nice video. Okay, so for those of you who don't know us, we are MachineMetrics, and the video did a good job explaining that. And the second quick video that we have is just a brief introduction to the team at Karl Storz. So Bruce, without ado, I figure I'll play this video as well, and then we can pop right into the main event.
Just a drive from our Charlton facility, the new Franklin Machine Shop has a much expanded and modernized floor plan. With 27,000 square feet of floor space and an upgraded office and employee common areas, we have created a safe and productive work environment. Our business focus is vertical integration by insourcing machined parts that are currently or have previously been supplied by outside vendors. This offers control over part turnaround time, cost savings, and end-to-end control over our supply chain for critical parts. The investment in this new location also offers plenty of space for future growth and further insourcing, resulting in even further cost savings. The equipment at the Franklin shop now includes 6 Swiss-style screw machines, 3 multi-axis combination turning milling centers, 3 laser cutting machines, 2 wire EDMs, and a high-speed milling center. This state-of-the-art equipment allows the shop to produce the many intricate and complicated parts for endoscope production. In fact, the shop currently produces over 185 different parts for endoscope production, which range in size from around 1 millimeter to 60 millimeters. Our new space has also given us the opportunity to assist endoscope production by taking on the tabbed vertebrae assembly function, braid manufacturing, and reclaim part surface refinishing. As many of the components and equipment needed for these processes reside in the shop, this transition has been very successful. Our technical focus is to increase efficiency in all aspects of our processes. Machine cycling time improvements allow for more parts to be made over time. Machine setup time and setup frequency allow us to be more responsive to endoscope production demand and offer just-in-time part deliveries. Machine programming software offers state-of-the-art information transfer to bring new parts from drawing to finished component quickly. Machine monitoring systems allow tracking of machine downtime and fault codes on machine issues. This allows us to strive for 24/7 machine operation, even when the shop is unmanned. Although the machines are doing a lot of the physical work, our employees play an invaluable role in the process. In fact, they're the biggest part of the equation, writing the program code for the machines, developing new processes, rapid prototyping for next-generation endoscopes, controlling serial production and quality, using statistical process control tools, and generating new ideas for continuous improvement using lean principles. The Franklin facility is dedicated to investing in the technology, the time, and employee education required to be an innovative and successful part of the Karl Storz family of companies. The best part of all is that we get to keep things right here in Massachusetts, where we belong. Above all else, Karl Storz Endovision is committed to achieving great results through respect for our people and elimination of waste.
All right. Who wants to watch that again? That was an awesome video. Bruce, first of all, for those of you who are excited for the main event, we have arrived. We are grateful to have with us Bruce Watkins, President General Manager of Karl Storz Endovision. Bruce, welcome. Allow me to unmute you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just need to unmute. So thank you. Thrilled to be here, answer some questions. Certainly, if there's some follow-up questions that people want to tap into us through you guys, that's fine as well. So I've been with the company for 15 years. My background is mechanical engineering from many, many years ago. And we're a medical device company, as you saw, so pretty clean shop. It is vertically integrated into our light assembly operation up here in Charlton. So company founded in 1945, privately held, family owned, 8,000 people worldwide. Here in Charlton, we produce the flexible endoscopes. It's minimally invasive surgery. They go all over the world, heavy emphasis on the US. But again, the primary function is to produce the endoscopes, and the machining center in Franklin is a vertically integrated operation for cost reduction.
Well, I am certainly grateful to have you here. I've had the pleasure of getting to know you over the last couple of years. You've been working with MachineMetrics, and I'm certainly grateful to do so. And Bruce, I've found you to be certainly at least a visionary, not just in the manufacturing space, but in the way that you manage people. When some of your as you've started your digital transformation, what were some of your initial goals that you'd hope to achieve when you arrived, and where were some of your continuous improvement initiatives focused on when you first got started here?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I was recruited back in 2007 as a turnaround. Great product, great brands. We were struggling to meet the expectations of the owners in Germany. And what I will say is that I was asked or given approval to start with a whole new leadership team. And I said, we're going to keep the people we have. We're only going to ask people who don't follow the values of respect, integrity, and trust to leave. Because what I will tell you is, in most organizations, good people and a bad process produce bad results. And if you don't change the process, you are not going to change, the results of the business. And so the machine shop at the time, we had decided we were trying to do some sports medicine, and we just couldn't penetrate the market in the U.S. So we exited that business. So we had 5 people left in this startup operation. And so the question was, do we lay them off? Do we sell the few pieces of equipment we had? And the decision we made was to really change the focus to vertical integration. And the main point with this is always, in all of our businesses, is to follow the money, right? You can have some cool equipment, you can do some cool stuff, you can have some cool software, but at the end of the day, it's starting with the customer first, creating value for the customer, and then following the money when you're trying to drive improvement. And so we started with one machine. We borrowed some money to pick up the first 3 screw machines, and today I think we have 17 on our way to 20 machines in the facility, all focused on reducing cost of our devices to hospitals.
That's fascinating. I think a hot topic today, Bruce, clearly is to insource or to outsource, right? We're experiencing supply chain issues all over the map. You said follow the money. I'm really interested in, I'm sure many people who are here are interested in your take there. How were you able to determine, what you do well and, what maybe you shouldn't do?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So first thing I'll tell you is I'm a big fan of American production. At a time when people were saying outsource all your stuff, we were going in the opposite direction. And the main point that I had to that is being here in New England, those of you who have facilities in New England, it's expensive. And if you just do what everybody else is doing, you're going to lose the game. So you have to follow a different game. And so we've deployed lean philosophies, not just the tools, but the philosophy of lean, in the business. Again, what I said was, relative to the parts, we should be able to look at parts that have a high margin to our suppliers. And it doesn't mean that we're going to exclude our suppliers from being part of our strategic partnership. But we want to pick those parts that we know that we can invest in the technologies and significantly reduce the cost of manufacturing. A typical part in this facility costs us less than 1/3 of what it would cost if we were buying it on the open market. I also wanted the business close. And here it is, 15 years later, and that was probably fortuitous because we're being disrupted in our electronics, and people are being disrupted all over the place. And having this vertically integrated is a huge peace of mind.
It's really interesting, Bruce. Like your approach, I've found, you're not you're one of a couple of our customers who've really leaned into using data to make those types of decisions. To where you could call it, like, in many ways, it reminds me of Warren Buffett's contrarian investment strategy. For you, what I hear is, you're making these decisions to do something, in the face of perhaps, an approach that was, different than yours. How did you make those decisions? Is that what led you to maybe considering implementing, data collection, monitoring, analytics, that type of world for you guys?
Sure. I mean, the first thing I'll say is, those of you who are running machining operations, you have to decide whether you're in or out. You can't be half in. Because I think many of you know that it's a very high fixed cost investment for a machining facility. And so if you're in, the name of the game is to maximize the utilization of the assets. If you're not committed to it, then you don't want to play that game. Because, the advantage of a machining center, as you guys know, is the next part that comes out of the facility costs you almost nothing. And so, what we did is we looked at where, when you look at our cost base, where were our largest costs relative to, I'll say, the metal side of the business, not plastics and not the electronics, but on the metal side. And we looked at what do we think we could really do that for? What's the best technology to use? You can see we have a whole array of equipment. And we were not going to go after something that other people can do well. Right, we're doing very few screws as an example, because if you're going to do screws, there's not a lot of money in that, and you need 30 screw machines lined up running 24/7. And companies that do machining as a living, as their core process, are much better served doing that. But if we have a part that's costing us $90 or $100, and we look at it, we can produce that part for 25 or 30, we're going to bring that part in. And so when we made the investment in the machines, my expectation is that these machines pay for themselves in 1 year. And virtually every machine that we purchased has, in fact, done that. And what I'll tell you we have maybe 150,000 machine hours, 3 million parts. And the value on average of a machine hour for us, the profitability, not the savings of what we would do on a make versus buy, but the profitability is about $100 to $120 an hour. So you can see pretty quickly, we run our machines 24/7. We run them lights out with fire suppression. We're staffed about 18 hours a day, 19 hours a day. So they're running through the night, unattended with fire suppression. And that's really how we are able to help really improve our cost base.
Fantastic. I think a lot of people in our audience probably want to achieve that type of production, certainly, right? And for your team, obviously at some point you kind of you encountered looking for tools to help you automate certain aspects, right, of the data side and analytics, right? Many of our attendees probably have this similar experience, a lack of workforce, right? A lot of manual, time-consuming data entry makes that lack of workforce time even thinner than before. So was there a specific goal in mind when you found you were looking for machine monitoring and data collection solutions, and how did you find us?
Yeah, so the first issue, as you guys know, is data is king. When you have a small operation and a few people, you don't need to invest as heavily. But as you grow, you really need to manage the business by the facts and the numbers. And you need to realize that any system you use, right? I mean, we're heavy users of SAP as our enterprise tool for ERP. but any tool you use is not going to solve problems, right? What you're trying to do is bring problems to the surface that are hidden so that the people can solve those problems. And so, where we started was actually with GVMP. They're a greater, Boston Manufacturing Partnership. I'll give a plug for them. They helped us out. But they helped us with an initial concept using Excel to manage OEE, to manage utilization, and to really manage setup reduction. And we used that for probably, I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 4 years. Served us really well, but it's time consuming, it's data accuracy, and we wanted to have a tool. Now, some companies will go after, I want to have some cool tool that's going to load my machines from my ERP system. We are not interested in that. What we are interested in is maximizing the performance of the assets, right? Because if you're going to spend $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $1 million on a machining center, the game is all about maximizing the use of that machining center. And we picked MachineMetrics because it's very versatile. It's easy to get from 0 to in the game quickly. I mean, literally, we had the first machine up and running from decision point, I think, in about 3 days. If we did that with some of our other software vendors, it would be 6 months of project planning, and it goes on forever. So time to value for us was really, really fast and super, super economical compared to all of the other options that we were looking at.
And some of those initial problems that you guys were looking to solve, obviously I would say to the audience, and this is the marketing guy here talking, MachineMetrics is not a silver bullet, right? It oftentimes, it can be a toolkit, right? And, for you, Bruce, what were some of those, initial challenges that your team was trying to solve leveraging a tool like this?
Yeah, so the first one was setup, right? So today we're running about 300 parts in that facility. Our goal has been to make every part every day. Right? We are not a batch manufacturing facility. The only reason you run batches is A, people think that it's more efficient, and B, they will oftentimes come to that conclusion because they spend so much time setting their machines up. But if you can set up a machine in single digits, you could change your machines all day long because you don't need to amortize the setup across a whole bunch of parts. In our case, classic, in any business you go into, I don't care what the business is, an organization that doesn't focus on managing setup time, it takes about 4 hours to change a machine over, right? And it has almost nothing to do with the skilled labor that's doing that work. It has everything to do with the inefficient processes and the obstacles that we put in their way. And so we wanted a tool that could measure the time from good to good. And so, we've gone from 4 hours down to 2 hours down to, I think there's a graphic in there. It's probably complicated to look at, but we're probably 50th percentile running around 100 minutes right now. And, until we get below 30 minutes, for these machines, especially screw machines, they're much more difficult. Yeah. So here's a graphic. Let me explain this, very quickly to you. When you look on the left, we are comparing on one axis our performance from last year. And on the opposite axis, y-axis, our performance this year. And if that dot for that machine, these are all setup times. If that dot's in that red zone, it means we are running that machine worse than we did last year in terms of how much time it takes per setup to set up that machine. If it's running in the green, it means that we've reduced the setups on that machine by more than 50%. And if you looked at this at year end last year, all of those blue dots would have been, almost all of them would have been down in that green zone. Continuous improvement means, once you get to that goalpost, I want you to reduce it 50% again, right? So if we get from 100 to 50, I want to go from 50 to 25. I want to go from 25 to 12. And most people will say it is impossible to change a screw machine over in 12 minutes. And if you start with you don't know how to ride a bike, you can't ride a bike, you will never ride a bike. You first have to believe it and then use the potential of your people to help you figure out how to do it. And so you can see in the middle graph that this is plotting from where we were. There's a peak up there around 210 minutes. And, we dropped down below 100 minutes. We're up a little bit this year, which is a bit of a disappointment. But on the flip side, we've hired a number of additional machinists and we've been doing cross training. And so there's a root cause for why we're not at that goal objective. Do I think that will come down to the green line by mid-year? Absolutely. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see every single setup that's in MachineMetrics. We download this data directly from MachineMetrics. And that's kind of what that, a lot of that data down below are they're just a bunch of timestamps that are coming out of MachineMetrics. But you can see on the far right, the machine I chose, that we did really well. Then we did horrible. And then we're doing really well again. And you know what one of the differences was in that? The guy who produced the performance on the left-hand side of that graph left the company. And we didn't standardize the work. And so now what we've done is we standardized the work. And so you can see on the right-hand side that we have extremely good, stable performance, from setup to setup to setup on that machine.
That's fantastic. And I know that you had shared another graphic with us here, somewhat related to your machine utilization. And, I think many, obviously getting the most out of your equipment is, everything, right? And, I know that you had some thoughts on, first of all, why you put this together to tell your story, but I would love for you to tell the audience a bit about how you're leveraging this data to drive your continuous improvement.
Yeah, so what you're looking at here is, again, these graphs come directly from the timestamp data from MachineMetrics. And the awesome thing about it is all you have to do is hit a button in Excel and it grabs the data from MachineMetrics and it creates these. There's like zero effort to create this. Literally, when I created these, I did this in about 10 seconds. It's that fast. In the old days, you'd have some engineer spending, 2 hours putting this stuff together. On the left-hand side is just giving you the aggregate overall utilization. If we have 148,000 minutes available to us, how many minutes are we actually creating value? And you can see we tailed off there on the right-hand side. So, there's some reasons for that, but the challenge I've given the team is how do you get utilization to 70%? We have not gotten there. We got there for 1 month out of, about a 3-year period. But, time is money, and I want the existing assets to get to that level with stability with an OEE running greater than 85%. So the graph on the top there has all the different colors. Green means that machine is running, the spindle's turning, and you're making good product. And the black line is the maximum potential. So anything between the green bar and the black line are losses in the system. Now, if it's blue, that's a planned loss. We took that machine offline, right? And we're not going to tag the team for a planned outage, right? Because what you want to do is when you hit the run button, you want the machine to produce and produce with stability, right? We don't want to run these machines to failure. We want them to run when we want them to run. The red represents unplanned downtime, and you can see we have very little of it. If you looked at this, 4 years ago, there'd be a lot of red on this chart. But the team that's working there has, done a fabulous job at really managing the performance of the assets. But again, we can generate this data now in literally 10 seconds. Yeah, you might be on mute there, Graham.
Yeah, I think you're right, Bruce.
All right, so this is an interesting one. I told Graham I'd show you some dirty laundry today. It's not all, warm and fuzzies every year. But what you'll see on the left-hand side is this is the value of that machining center to us. And you could see year over year continually going up. And then you look at 2021, it's a train wreck, right? Now, it's interesting. To us, that's a train wreck. But if you put your money in a T-bill today, what are you going to get? You're going to get a little more than you would have a year ago, but you get almost 0% return. this facility is returning its investment, typically around 200% a year. I mean, there is no place you can put your money that I know of, right? Unless it's in the black market someplace, that you can generate this kind of return consistently. And it comes from picking the right portfolio and hiring good people and driving continuous improvement. So we'll get this back this year, but 2021 was a pretty ugly year. Most of us know, with supply chain issues. It was an issue for us with COVID. The good side is we were able to unload some of these assets by, in our service side, reusing components for the servicing operation. Well, that's the bad news in the short term. Is you unload the machine, you say, I'm losing money. Well, we're not losing money. It's just the opportunity cost. But it opens up the opportunity to bring in more business so that the total cost of ownership of our devices goes down. And so the way we measure this performance is this thing called RONA on the bottom. You can go search it on the internet if you're not familiar with it, but it's return on net assets. And basically what we're doing is we're looking at, if we bought these parts, what are we going to pay for them on the open market, times the quantity that we produced, and we subtract from that the factory cost of running that factory. All the costs, right? It's the employees, it's the electricity, it's the tools, it's the leadership, it's everything that goes into running that facility. And the difference between those two is the money that we saved that allows us to lower the cost of our scopes to our customers. Now we divide that by fixed assets and working capital. And that gives us this relative rate of return in that upper right-hand bar. And those of you who are trying to sell expanding your operations to your senior executives, right? The language your senior executives talk, and most of you know, is money. What's it going to get me, right? And RONA is a really good way to look at running a machine shop, again, because it's a high fixed cost investment. And if it costs you more money to make it, why would you make it? Just shut your operation down and have somebody else make it. But if that's the case, what you're saying is that means somebody else is smarter than you. And I'm pretty sure most of us on this call are pretty smart people. That when we put our heads to driving improvement and utilizing these assets, you can do it better than the open market. Because if you're vertically integrated, you don't have to earn a rate of return, right? But if you're running it as a business, you do. And so the main point I'd make here is we were going up for a lot of years, but things don't always go up. But with the work that we've done in the back half of last year and the plans we have, we're putting a new part into serial production, about one part every week. And so you'll see that number. If we have this discussion a year from now, you'll see that bar come back up to where we want it to be.
It's incredible. And when you were, previously, obviously you implemented this system, of, performance management and continuous improvement before MachineMetrics, but how is the solution, aided you in your quest to make it, real time and easier to measure this? These data points. I mean, has the platform made it easier for you to calculate these types of information, or has it driven any sort of specific improvements related to them?
Yeah, if I told you it was great and wonderful, I'd probably be blowing smoke, right? And my only point to that is we're always trying to get better, right? Try to make today better than yesterday. We have the dashboards up in the in the main office. You can monitor not only our statistical process control as it's coming off the part measurement, and you can measure the machine performance, and you can status those. I think it's been more visual, real time, than actually using it to drive decisions. But I'll put a plug in for a company called AccuRounds. Guys are doing amazing work. And we're benchmarking with them, right? Because we saw some really cool stuff when we were there. MachineMetrics invited us to come and do a tour of that operation. And they're doing, 2 or 3 things better than us relative to using MachineMetrics, which includes doing their AQL, when do we sample the machines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're actually going to deploy some of the learnings that we had, from that trip. So I think that will get better over time. But the other advantage, and we've deployed this during times of stress, but not when things are going smoothly, is, we love the remote monitoring capability. In fact, it was interesting. I had some customers in recently, and they were asking some questions because there's a proprietary product line we're working on. And I was able to pull up on my iPhone right on the factory floor, what the trailing performance was on a particular asset we were looking at, right, over the last 3 months. And I said, here's the utilization. And I showed them the graph. I said, here's the real-time performance of this asset. Here's where the headroom is. And here's why we can do this product, because I have room on this asset. And it was great to be able to do that in the moment, on the fly, in a real-time conversation. The other thing I would say that we're going to work on more and more over time is the remote alarming, right? We've had on weekends when we've been back ordered in our main products. As you guys know, it's not rocket science, but it's so easy to do, right? Just, the machine sends an alert to, the maintenance guy or to the leadership to say, I'm unattended, but I'm down right now. I got a problem, and you can get somebody into the facility and get that machine restarted. And so it makes that super, super simple for us.
Yeah, and just a reminder to our audience here, we will have time for a couple questions for Bruce. So, feel free to use that Q&A section of the navigation so you can get those questions in, because I know that we'll have a bunch of them while I continue to ask my questions. So don't hesitate to drop those either into the chat or the Q&A. One thing, Bruce, that really stood out to me was you clearly have a good understanding of how to achieve success using tools and solutions. For the audience here, I think and for the industry, I've definitely noticed there's a bit of a self-deprecating attitude, like we're not ready, or are we going to be able to achieve success using this? Like, what would your advice be to organizations who are, maybe a bit trepidatious or feel like they're not ready to use, tools, or to start driving, data-driven continuous improvement initiatives?
All right. So you could probably tell your marketing guys and your sales guys to plug their ears for a minute. What I would say is, oftentimes what I find, and we had some folks from Toyota work with us for a while. And I will tell you that one of the most valuable pieces of information that I learned for me personally as an executive who's always driving to get better and to serve the customer better and to generate profits. And their comment to us was, near as I can tell, you guys go an inch deep and a mile wide. You're trying to boil the ocean, and you're trying to do everything all at once. And what they really taught us when we're trying to drive improvement is to go an inch wide and a mile deep. And so, what I tell people is, if you have to do 20 different machines or 20 different manufacturing locations or 20 different something, what I tell them is, I'm pretty sure if you can't do one, you can't do 20. So get one machine and really, really understand it front to back, because it's not about the tool, right? Again, the software only surfaces problems. It's about creating a culture of problem solvers and using a tool like MachineMetrics to help them see where the problems are, and then to use it to measure progress and improvement. So my message is, start small, right? But the minute you get one, it's a go slow to go fast. The minute you nail one, you can do the other 19 really fast. So scale your investment to do all 20, but deploy one of them as a starting point until you get to where you're trying to get to.
It's a great point, Bruce, right? It's like, you demonstrate and understand the value, right? And then you scale the value, right? And I think that, we take the same attitude, even in what we're doing with marketing, right? It's like we consider ourselves kind of like mad lab scientists here, where, you spend a little bit, you understand and quantify the value of the return, and then as a startup, you invest, right? I think a lot of companies oftentimes will get almost stuck in that pilot purgatory. So I like the concept you just described to the audience around, like, it's not just about, starting small, but it's about having a plan to scale, right? And the starting with a focus allows you to really learn like where the value actually is for you, and make sure that your team is ready to achieve it. Because if not, right, oftentimes those efforts are left for naught, and that's why there's such a high rate of failure when it comes to IoT solutions. We're getting a bunch of questions coming in. I want to make sure that we have time. So just a question from the audience here for you, Bruce. For your team, how long did it take to get the full implementation across your company and I believe there's probably two sides to this. One is get the MachineMetrics implementation up and running, and then two, which I think may be the heart of the question, to have them start using the data available.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned earlier, literally, I think the first machine, after we, inked the deal with you guys, your team was out pretty much right away. And it was easily less than a week. I think it was like 3 days that we were actually, had edge software running on a machine and, generating output. So for me, that was really cool, right? Now, you say in terms of scaling, our initial scope, we probably scaled the installation in easily less than, I can't remember now, it's probably easily less than 2 months, right? And in fact, the biggest barrier was not MachineMetrics, right? The biggest barrier, was our IT team, right? Because the first problem we got into, and of course, this is a big problem in today's world, was the whole issue about cybersecurity, because in the cloud. And, we all today are very concerned about cyber attacks. I mean, we just put in a bunch of additional lockdown, software from our IT group within the last 2 weeks, because our system over in Germany was attacked, right? And the last thing you want is to have this be, an opening that could actually infect your, your system. So, we have a subnet process, so we can talk through the cloud to MachineMetrics and protect all of our business software. But, setting that up and setting the IP ports, and Graham might remember, we had our change management process in the early days. So finally we said, we're just going to do a cellular link and go around our firewall to get going. And so now it's all fully integrated. But, the thing that I learned with that, my mistake when I was guiding the team was, let's go, 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 right? And we probably got, a little too far out over the tips of our skis before we brought the rest of the organization along. And so we got the initial installation done really fast. And then we deployed, I think, in year 2. And now we're adding like 1 machine a year. So it's not a big deal now, but it's part of the startup process of each machine. I think, there's a couple of machines we have controllers. I think what you guys know better than me. I think there's Heidenheim or something there. There are some controllers that we're still working on, getting connected to the network, but virtually all of our machines are capable.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I think your answer was spot on, really. Like I wouldn't even be able to give a perfect answer. We have some organizations that have brought on, hundreds of machines within, a couple days, right? And then I think others, not so much. I think it really just depends. I think the top barrier that we've seen when it comes to, connecting assets tends to be IT, right? And, within it's the steel factories that we operate within, right? Ensuring that your networks, right, and your IT team is is connected to OT. You know, there's a reason for that buzzword, you know, IT OT convergence, right? Because it's really true, right? To scale out, you know, data and analytics, it does really require like an IT team's involvement, right? And I think a lot of organizations, IT is, you know, somewhat segregated from OT, and you know, and to really bring these two groups working together,
Yeah.
gives you the best opportunity to scale out solutions.
So if you're thinking about doing this, that is really my advice: is make sure you engage your IT team early in it. And that was a big mistake that we made.
Right, right. And you're not the first, for what it's worth. I like to think of you as a renegade. You know, many times, especially larger organizations, right, where IT is such a like a, you know, kind of like a, if anything, the naysayer, like say no. You know, we've seen kind of like renegade plants go that route of trying to have their own, you know, network or something that's outside of IT. But I do think in the end, right, like that's just a proof of concept, but what it really leads to are, you know, bigger barriers further on. So making sure that everybody's involved, right, I think is really important. I got a couple more quick ones I'm going to try to get to you. You know, I have a couple people asking about, you know, how easy it is to get the data out of the machine. You know, I mean, like Bruce, you're welcome to answer that. You know, for you guys, like how easy was it to start collecting data using MachineMetrics? But I think you kind of already did. You know, which was quick. So I don't know if we want to go into that. I think what I would just say to the person who's asking those questions is, you know, every machine's different, you know, and, you know, I think MachineMetrics, you know, again, I'm on the team here, so I can tell you that we probably have the most connectors, the most machines, but, you know, in the end, there's always something new to learn. You know, some machines can be, you know, connected to in thousands, you know, hundreds of data points within a minute. Others, you know, more complex. But, you know, it really just depends on the type of asset. You know, but Bruce, I want to get to these other questions. I think they're really interesting. Has the implementation of MachineMetrics and the deeper utilization of the machine data made you more competitive across maybe other US and global competitors? Is this part of the strategy?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, as I said, you know, the software itself doesn't solve problems, and the software itself doesn't make you money, right? It's your people that do that, but it's a tool that allows you to do two things. One is surface and solve problems, you know, much faster, is the first thing. And the second thing is it allows you over time, you know, to track how well you're utilizing that asset and how much headroom there is. And again, as I mentioned, you know, our value after we paid all expenses, just in a dollars term on that factory is, you know, about 16 million, right? And it is, you know, the return on investment, right? You know, if you looked at how much it costs us to run that facility, you know, literally, you know, we will pay for the overhead expenses in about the first, you know, 8 weeks. And after that, it's all profitability for us. That's basically the way we're constructed.
That's amazing. And the fact that you're able to know those numbers, I think, is even more important, right? For this, you know, organization to operate fully. A great question from the audience here, Bruce, and this may be our last one that we have time for, but what type of resistance did you face when implementing MachineMetrics? And if you did experience any, you know, for example, from operators, how did you address those?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, we have a great workforce. I'm really proud of our whole team. You know, we have about 600 plus people. And what differentiates us is the culture, right? We have customers that come in from hospitals and they can't believe how friendly our people are. So we've already started with a really great group of people. So that makes it easier, right? Now, what we did find during initial implementation And again, what MachineMetrics is doing automatically is it's grabbing timestamps and it's grabbing, certain conditions that are coming through your controller, right? But you still have to interact with the machine in terms of, reasons for example, why the spindle's not turning, right? It's a person that knows that. And I think in the early days, we weren't so good. I mean, we just assumed that, people would adapt and do it well. But what we had to do after about 6 months is go back and have a trainer work one by one with each person to get them comfortable with the edge tool, right? And B, then do the oversight and monitoring so you could take them the training wheels off. So it's not a fully automated capture everything because it's still a human that knows if the reason that machine is offline and it's not a fault code coming out of the controller, it's still a human that knows why it's offline, right? So we probably missed that in the early days, but we rectified it by having one of our engineers as a committed trainer, working with each person one by one.
Yeah, it's really a great point, Bruce. It's like not, the machine data tells you, a huge chunk of the story, right? But your workforce, right, is really has insights that you can't really replicate, right? And the objective needs to be to learn from them and try to synthesize their knowledge, untribalize it so it can be more scalable. I really love that takeaway, and I think it's a great one to end on today, which is that in the end, right, the factory is made up of machines, systems, and people, right? And above all else, today, when faced with this, one of the most unique times in manufacturing, we need to empower our people, right, to get the most out of them as possible, right, and giving them the tools that they can and incentivizing them in the proper way to become part of that continuous improvement process will always unlock remarkably more value.
I mean, I will tell you that, from the machinist point of view, it was a big win when they didn't have to update the Excel spreadsheets anymore. That was a whole lot more work for them than just, putting a fault code reason in an edge controller.
I can imagine, especially when you probably, like everybody else, are just looking for more machinists. Bruce, I just want to thank you so much. 3 days after running a marathon, you're joining us today for this webinar. I'm sure our audience really appreciated it. I certainly did. Tons of amazing insights. I know you have so many more to share. We look forward to continuing to work with you. And for those of you who are in attendance, thank you all for coming as well. This is the end of the webinar.
I'll make it an open offer, right? Anybody who wants to come and learn more, you are welcome to come and visit us and tour our facility. We're an open shop. We'd love to have you and come in and show you what we're doing.
Well, Bruce, I'm certainly going to take you up on that offer. And I hope everybody else here does, because it's a great one. And for those of you who joined us, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Bruce. Bye, guys.